What is going on, YouTubers? Welcome to another video. I think for the re-reviews, since obviously I need content and I have a bazillion statues that need re-reviewing really, we're just going to alternate room by room. So, I started out in the main theater room, then we went to the video game room, then we went to the Lord of the Rings room, or Transformers room, whatever you want to call it, and this is the Marvel DC room. So, going back to some of the oldest pieces. Now, this room has gone through so many changes over the last several years. Like, probably the most changes. And we sold so many old Sideshow Marvel comic-based statues. This room used to have Lord of the Rings, Warcraft, Transformers, you name it. So much. But some of my oldest pieces in this room is going to be that Loki and this Thor, as well as that Groot. I would say those are probably the three oldest pieces in this room. And so we're going to go ahead and review this Loki. Now Queen Studios has released another Loki, like the updated sculpt. And there's no doubt that Loki, in terms of like detail, sculpt, is better. However, the reason I did not buy that one was I wanted the horned look. This look right here. I love the horned look, and I do like this pose. The base is pretty sick. So I stuck with this one. I didn't want to try to sell this for, let's say, $400 in the aftermarket, buy Queens for $850 or $900, however much it goes for, double the cost, because I still really like this piece. So let's dive a little bit deeper. So concept, he's standing on, this kind of reminds me of when Loki was visiting the Chitauri commander and he was in like space. That's kind of the theme it's rocking right now. The one leg up, which is a classic statue sideshow pose, the one leg up pose. You gotta have a few of those at least. And then of course he's holding his scepter here, and the scepter looks pretty good. No light up or anything. Looks pretty good. He's of course polystone. Now that Tesseract you see him holding is a custom. I got it off eBay. It happened to just fit perfectly. And in my opinion, it was a huge miss that they did not include a hand holding the Tesseract. I'm like, I'm pretty confident the hand comes off. They should have they should have did two things for this statue. Well, three things. This has no swap outs. They should have given you a swap out without the helmet, a swap out with the long and short version of Loki's scepter, and a hand with and without the Tesseract. They should have did light up in the Tesseract and light up in his scepter and light up in the base. Imagine if all those lights, look, son of a tomboy. Imagine if all these lights lit up, or not really lights, but the blue stuff with that lit up. I think that'd be really, really cool. So I think the concept's probably like a 5.5 out of 10. Lots of misses in terms of concept. They could have did so much more. But I still like the overall just like look of the piece. I like the base, and I like how I got the Tesseract, and of course I love the horned look. But I would have loved some swap outs and some light ups. I think that's a miss. When it comes to paint and detail, there's no doubt this looks like, an old school polystone sideshow movie statue. They're not the best when it comes to like human sculpts in polystone. It has okay likeness, probably like 60, 70%. Like you can kind of tell it's, Tom Hiddleston. They're just not super good when it comes to these polystone movie statues. And that's one reason I've sold off pretty much every one of them, but this and Thor. I kept this over Queens and Thor. There still has not been another Thor, Thor 1, Thor 2 look by any studio out there. So, Iron Studios, they did make this one, which is, of course, updated detail, and it looks good. But I wanted a Thor with this look, like that classic Avengers 1, 2, Thor 1, 2 look. So, those are the only two sideshow pieces in this room, I think. Let me just think real quick. Sideshow. Well, Hulk is Sideshow. Not Hulk actually is pretty good. we'll review that in another episode. But yeah, so paint and detail, 5 out of 10. The old school polystone look doesn't do it for me. And that's one reason I sold 99.9% of them. They just have aged really badly. You know, and that, like, detail up close just is not the same. You know, one thing that I do think looks good on these older Sideshow pieces, you know, like anything really 5 years ago Sideshow, the costumes look great. Like, they do a really good job on the cut and sew, the mixed media. You know, this is a mixture of polystone and mixed media. I think it looks good. Like, the costume looks great. I don't got really any complaints in the costume. My big complaints on, like, any of the old school movie statues are really the sculpt and mostly the paint on their pieces. Not even the sculpt as much. Usually the sculpts are actually pretty good. What I found is just the paint app is really subpar. I've seen a lot of old Sideshow pieces where they did a repaint and then it looked amazing. You're like, holy crap. Or if you look at the 3D, you know, created file, it actually looks like really good. And then you're just like, why did it turn out like crap? It's because of the paint app. They did a really bad job on the paint app. They went cheap and it just didn't look that good. So Loki, you know, he's similar to other movie statues. He's not horrible, but he's not great. He's good. You know, but if you compare the likes of him to, like, let's say that Black Widow or that Thanos there, you know, it's very clear and dry that Loki is, you know, quite a bit less detailed in the face. Now, when I'm looking at him, I'm not looking at the face too much. I look at the horns, the body, the staff. The costume's really cool looking. I love Loki's costume. You know, so, but yeah, paint and detail is like a 5 out of 10 on this one. It's old school Sideshow, which just, for me, doesn't cut it these days. Sideshow has done some good work, but I feel like for the most part, a lot of their stuff is very substandard, and it just doesn't cut it for me anymore. You know, but Loki, I still like this statue. I have not sold it. You know, if they came out with a Loki similar to this and it's scaled right, I was, you know, really worried about Queen in terms of scaling. I didn't think it would scale appropriately because I knew how small Black Widow was. I felt like she was underscaled. And, you know, Spider-Man's underscaled. I feel like they underscaled their 1/4 and their 1/3, but then overscaled their half scales, and their busts are a mixed bag of both. They're not good at scaling. Frankly, most companies aren't. But, you know, I like the scale of this Loki. I feel like it fits really good in this setup. You know, having the 3 Avengers bosses, you know, and, you know, the final villain. I really like that. You know, so, and Queen Loki, I just didn't want to risk the scale being bad selling this. And, you know, maybe if I saw some photos next to like this Thanos and it scaled good, I would maybe consider it. Mostly because I also have that horned Loki bust, you know, and that thing, of course, is 10,000 times better detailed than this. So, but yeah, I still do like this statue. Overall, I'd probably give it like a 5.5 out of 10. You know, I think if you are in the market for Loki, and I'm still not 100% sure on the Queen scaling, it looks kind of small, but I would definitely look at Queen first. Now, this is definitely a very outdated statue. When it came out at the time, this was kind of the standard. You know, so this is what I was used to at the time, but nowadays it's definitely an outdated piece and probably something I would not recommend. I would say go for the Queen one, you know, if you're looking for a Loki 1/4. But if you're on a budget and you want that horned look, then go for this one. I would not pay more than $400 for this. Frankly, Queens I wouldn't pay over $800, which I still think is, you know, a lot for a small 1/4. Anyways, folks, that is it for Sideshow Loki, 5.5 out of 10. Outdated, do not recommend anymore. I wanted to give you guys a quick heads up. Darkseid bust is in transit, should be here in a few weeks. Tanjiro, Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba, 1/4 by Infinity Studios is in transit, should be here in a few weeks. Dream Studios Link is being shipped DHL next week. So that probably won't arrive next week, probably the following week, but who knows, maybe it does. So we might still get one more statue this month. Mark 43, still waiting on Resin GK to ship it. And My $10,000 special project will be finished by Friday of next week. They made it real quick. It's going to be finished, and the world will see it. I'm not going to say what it is, but you guys will see it, next weekend. And everyone's going to be amazed. It's going to be epic. And you'll see it on the review table the following week once it's shown off. Anyways, folks, that is it. See you guys in the next one. Like, comment, subscribe. Have a great day.